Hello, everyone. So we're on a different night. I know we're going on the same time as Jody's on, so we had to reschedule due to my work. So I'm so sorry about that. So we are on tonight instead of Tuesday night. So we'll see if anybody joins us. We can just let's hop back and forth between all the other podcasts that are tonight. Um, but tonight we have actually one of my favorite people. I just love watching his show that he does on YouTube. Um, Tonight we have Lawrence, and he is the creator of MONDOdocs. It's a YouTube channel that concentrates like on the paranormal, as well as like the strange and unusual. And it has a different vibe to it, and I love it because it's very. I guess I want to say to me it feels like it is M Night Shyamalan type of thing. It has that type of feel to it. So
What's raw? You know what I'm saying? That's what's
very raw.
yeah.
Yeah. So I am going to bring him on now and join us. Maybe. There we go. Hi, Lawrence. How are you?
Hello, not bad. M. Night Shyamalan, Shyamalan Ding Dong. That's the first time I ever got that comparison. So thank you. I'll take that as a pretty big compliment. So
you put that mystery in there. It's like I don't know. It's very like it's raw, but it's also that like M. Night Shyamalan leaves things to question. You know what I mean?
right.
Like lets your mind go. And I find myself doing that same thing when I'm watching your shows.
Yeah.
So
Well, the thing is with Lawrence, though, I know his thoughts on paranormal too. Him and I have done a lot of investigating together, and if it's not right in your face, you know what I'm saying? But he likes to debunk it with logic, and that's what's cool about, and I guess, I mean, you really do.
Yeah, I mean, I consider myself a pretty skeptical person for the most part. I think a lot of things can be considered debunkable. And yeah, when you investigate the paranormal, you have to use some kind of balance, some kind of logic, some kind of reason when you do so.
Susan.
But no, I mean, as time has gone on, definitely became more open-minded, more of a quote unquote believer. I mean, Andy, when I met you back in what was it, 2021, I think it was,
Probably,
probably at the Hoover House.
Mhm.
I was much
isn't
more.
that where we all meet? The Hoover
I
House.
think so. Yeah, I'm not going to say I was much more close-minded, but definitely became more open-minded as time.
Oh yeah, you were
went on.
definitely like bullshit a couple times when we were talking the first time, but yeah.
There was a lot of like, there's no effing way when it comes to a lot of things. But the more you go to Gettysburg and places like the Shanley Hotel up in New York and so forth, you begin to have a lot more questions than answers, and that's where I'm at right now. Just a lot of questions.
So out of all,
and I think that's what. Sorry, go ahead.
No, you're good. Well, I was just going to ask him, out of all the places that you've been to and filmed, what would you say your most favorite place is, even if it's not paranormal related?
Oof. I mean, maybe the Farnsworth House in Gettysburg. I mean, there's so much history in Gettysburg altogether, but the Farnsworth House has a very unique, weird feeling to it. It's like a magnet. At least for me, it is. I mean, that was my first, paranormal experience, I think, was being touched at the Farnsworth House. Hello, Christina. And that place just kept dragging me back. I've been there, I think, 11 or 12 times now. But just there's something about it. There's aesthetic to it, the history behind it, and just I feel like when I walk in there, the spirits just know that I'm there. They're like, "Oh God, this guy, he's back again," and I'm like, "Yep, I'm home." But yeah, the Farnsworth House. I mean, it's active, it's beautiful, it's just extremely haunted. So it's one of my favorite places.
Did you ever get the door fixed the last time?
Yeah, I forgot. I guess I did.
You're always at the Farnsworth.
I guess I did tell you about the door thing. My door handle fell off. Yeah, I did. You had dinner that night. That was a long weekend.
We had dinner that night, and then you were like, "You're not going to believe this."
Yeah. So when I got back there, my door was still broken, but they eventually fixed it. So yeah, I was able to get in. I just stayed in my room. Didn't even come out. I just stayed in there.
Yeah.
But that was a pretty quiet night, though. I mean, I think I woke up at like 3 a.m. to like a weird whisper behind me, But I was so tired, I just said, night now. I'm going back to bed. Good night, whoever you are behind me, whispering in my ear. And I was by myself for those who were watching.
Yeah, I've
Yeah.
actually met the gentleman or the young guy that actually he's really interested in your work that we've talked about a couple times. He runs the paranormal tour at the Farnsworth, and going to give myself and another one of my team members all access here soon to be able to go in and investigate. So that's kind of,
Oh, hell yeah.
I've been through it, but I've never investigated. I mean, I've been in there a couple times. So
Oof. That place, man. The time that goes in the winter time. Like a few of us had the whole
That's when
place.
I go.
Yeah,
Mhm.
because nobody's there. It's quiet. There's no
Mhm.
noise pollution outside, or the tourists are gone. It's a ghost town, in many, many
It
ways.
is.
But when you're in the winter, like we went there on Valentine's Day last year, and it was maybe 6 of us, and we were on the staircase investigating, and we just hear someone go like, "Watch!" like in real time. There's a full-on disembodied
Wow.
voice, and it was like maybe 11 o'clock at night, and there was no one else there besides us.
Mhm.
Crazy, crazy place. So if you go there to investigate, go there in the winter time and there's nobody there and it's quiet. And I feel like it's more active in the winter time for whatever reason it may be. But definitely check it out in the winter if you can, Andy.
Yes, I have been there. I've stayed there. I'm actually kind of got the same pond. Uh, what's the word I'm looking for? Attachment to Farnsworth House. Like I like to go there often.
Yeah.
And stayed in many places, but winter is like my favorite. I like going there when there's no one there, and you get so much more. I feel like they're like begging to talk to people, and I love it. What is your favorite room?
Thank you, Susan. I appreciate that. My favorite room is maybe the Sarah Black room. I mean, it's not
Okay.
only is it the most active room, but it's or maybe it could be that, or maybe Jeremy's room. I think Jeremy's room is the most misunderstood room. Everybody
It
thinks,
is.
the Legend of Jeremy haunts the room because it's named after him. But I don't think that's the case at all. I'm not even sure Jeremy is a real entity at the place. But that room, Jeremy's room, was an open porch during the Battle of Gettysburg.
yeah,
Confederate soldiers fell to their death, like they were shot and killed on that porch. And
Oh, wow.
eventually became closed off, became a sunroom, I believe, at one point in time. And then now it's a guest room you can stay in. Based on the EVPs that I've captured there and the evidence that me and others have gotten there in that room alone, it seems that Confederate soldiers are the ones who are lingering in that room for the most part, and not so much a young boy. I never got the impression a young boy stays in that room, but yeah.
I'm with you there. I've never like I pick up on children a lot. I work with children throughout my day job, um, and so children draw out to me a lot when I go to places. And I actually have nenever picked up on a child spirit there. Not to debunk anybody else, and if you did, that's
Yeah.
fine. It didn't present to me. But I definitely feel something different there in that room too. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely more an older male spirit. I think that there might be
Older
some
male. Yeah.
there might be some kind of childlike entity there. I'm sure there is. But in that room alone, though, it's definitely an older male entity that hangs out and
That's
makes
what I
himself
get in there.
known.
Yeah.
Yep, definitely.
Well, I mean, you got to think.
Have you?
I mean, the Confederate. You know what I'm saying? I mean, that's the last breath. From that point right there, and
Yeah.
definitely, I've noticed living in Gettysburg and being in Gettysburg every day that more stories I hear and more things that happen actually on the tours that the place that I manage. It seems like imprints, not as much as maybe intelligent. I mean, some of it is, but it seems like it's imprints, like the
A lot
last,
of residual. Yeah.
Just
yeah, just
energy
the
left
last
behind.
place they took the last breath, and you're seeing maybe a loop. I don't know, but we get the same stops on our tour, get almost the same pictures every time too. So it almost has to be residual or something, like that. But what about the Farnsworth cat? I've heard about that a lot.
I always forget about the cat. And every time I get there, I'm like, I should have bought some catnip, but I always forget to bring catnip to the furniture house. Next time, I'm just going to put it in my camera bag and just leave it there. So next time I go there, I'll remember I have catnip. I have motion balls.
Well, let me know. I grow it out. I grow it out in my yard. Let me know if you need some.
Do you?
Yeah, I do. Catnip. I have a whole medicinal herb garden. So.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, that's my witchiness and my herbology. So.
Hell yeah. I like it. Yeah, no, I mean, I've heard stories about the cat. People feel the cat on their bed, but I don't think I've ever experienced any kind of feline paranormal activity at the furniture house. Unfortunately, hopefully someday.
One of the guides that I have that works for me was having a house built. So he had to stay about 3 weeks at the Farnsworth and wintertime, and he's hearing what sounded like a cat at his door. So he gets up and he's like, goes to walk, and he actually said that he saw the paw come under the door.
Yeah, you mentioned this, yeah.
And opens the door and there's no cat there. Next morning he's sitting around, the breakfast table, and he's like, yeah, the cat was messing with me last night. And they were like, there is no cat. We don't have a cat. Yeah, so that's how he found out. But yeah, that.
Can you imagine? I mean, even at the Hoover House, they say there's a cat that lingers around the house, right? Which I never seen, but I've heard people experience.
I've seen a cat. Yeah,
have you?
I have too. I have.
Yeah, I have.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I saw it running up the steps from the basement one time.
It runs up the stairs. That's where I see it too.
Yeah, but we heard it though. Lawrence, remember that?
I do remember we were table tipping in the basement, right?
Yeah.
I think I remember hearing it. I don't know.
No, but remember when we were up in the Holzer suite the night that the doorbell went off?
Oh yeah. Do you think that
was going to look for a cat?
Yeah. Do you think that was I mean, it sounded like a cat. For those of you who don't know, we were in the Hoover House investigating, and all of us were in the same room together, and it sounded like it was like a whining noise from somewhere within the house. It sounded like a cat, basically. And then Pam went to go find it, and then a doorbell rang. A doorbell that doesn't even exist. So
a doorbell that didn't exist.
No, right, Andy? Like a doorbell doesn't. It was like a phantom doorbell.
Pam's
that doorbell
wow
doesn't exist in the house. And I think Pam
says that was a weird night for sure. I wasn't there that night, right? That wasn't the night. Okay.
No, this is Andy, Pam, Steve, and Sarah Bentley. So we were just investigating, and it was just, it was weird. It was the strangest thing I've experienced there.
Yeah. Yeah. So other than the Farnsworth, like you get around. I know that sounds horrible, but you go to a lot of places. And I have a story I want to tell you because this is very odd. And I was just talking to Andy about this. So last podcast, right before we got on, Spirit came through and was like, needed to talk to me. And like, sometimes it's just very persistent. So I get my pen and paper and I start writing things down, and I'm writing like, I can't find the paper now, but I wrote like Wildwood was the first one that came up, and then the color orange, and then cat, and then what was it, like sea green. I kept hearing sea green, not what, I don't know, was the color or like sea green, like there was some kind of phrase, and like a couple other things. And I was like, what is that from? Like, and I couldn't figure out what it was from. So Andy's like, oh, maybe it's from Wildwood. I didn't even think, like, when I hear Wildwood, I think New Jersey, like, I've never been to Wildwood. I never really heard about it much. I mean, I have, but I never really like looked into it too much. And so Andy said, maybe it's from there. Well, then after that, like all of these Wildwood references keep coming up. So I'm in my room one night watching something on YouTube, maybe a Bigfoot show. And then something happens to my TV. It like cuts off the video. And then your video of Wildwood just pops on. And I'm like, whoa. I'm like, why is this on? And it's just very strange. So then I keep getting tagged in things. And then like the owner friended me today. And I'm like, okay, Wildwood is calling me.
You should go there. You should go there.
I need to go there. But when I watched your video, some of the references made sense. Like that one part where like the orange, I think it's the orange hair of the doll, and it's in the window. Oh, I got window too.
Yeah. I know.
So that orange hair. But if you're looking from that room, there's a cat on the wall right there, drawn right on the wall. I think I saw that. Did I just hear a cat? Oh, you have a cat. Okay. um,
She didn't meow though.
I
But
just heard a meow. That's weird. So when you could see the cat and then you could see the doll out by the window, so it was
okay,
like maybe that's what.
I'll double check. But that place, I
Yeah,
mean, that's weird. But you should go there. It's an interesting
yeah,
place. When
It
we went
is.
there,
It is.
it was a little quiet. But the thing is, it was very subtle, but at the
Mhm.
same time, not. It was like a game, basically. It was a
Agreed.
night of, all right, leave the room for a little bit, come back and see what's different, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Andy, you know, on the third floor in the medical room, there's that medical skeleton like on display, hanging out, overlooking the room.
Yeah.
And when you walk in there, it's facing the door. So we're in there investigating. We leave the room for maybe like an hour or so. We come back upstairs, and the skeleton is completely rotated, facing to the left, the wall,
Right.
basically. And nobody was there to touch it or rotate it. So it was really, really strange that that thing was just moved on its own, essentially. And then some doll in the doll room was moved on its own, like it was in a weird position.
Yeah, I had that happen.
Yeah. So it was like a game. It was like playing with you almost. And we heard a few loud thuds here and there throughout the house.
there's a lot of dolls there.
Out of the
Yeah.
out of all my years doing investigating, that was the best communication session that I had ever, was in that doll room.
Really?
Yeah, they were answering questions. People, I went live on Facebook, and I was running Phasmabox, and people were telling me to ask questions. And before I had the opportunity to even ask the question, they were saying this question, or they were answering the question.
That's wild. Yeah.
And it was like spot on. I had a good friend. She was on vacation in Michigan. And so I asked, I was like, do you know where? And before I even got out like her name, it said Michigan, stuff like that. And I was like, what? Did you see the creepy doll, the one that rocks? Lawrence, you know what I'm talking about?
The clown one? Oh no, the little the Spirit Halloween doll.
Mhm.
Yeah.
We played with it. You know, I clapped enough for it to go off on its own. I think it goes on forever.
Well, I had a gal, Mandy, that used to be on my team. I looked at her and I said, that freaking dog goes off, man, on its own. I'm out of here. And like 5 minutes later, man, guess what? It
Goes
was
off.
just off by itself. And I'm like, I didn't leave, but it was, it's a very different place, man. Wildwood is.
It's a weird haunting. Like it's a weird place. And you don't feel like you're alone. Like there's definitely like I said, when I went there with Kristen and Sean, it was quiet, but not. It was strange. I can't explain it. But I would definitely go back there again. More people.
Felt like they were standing there, like kind of just watching you.
Yeah, and it's
That's what I felt when I was watching your video. Like, just like all these people were just like watching.
Just watching this douchebag with the camera walk around, like, what is this guy doing with it by himself with the camera? What a weirdo. That's what it felt like too. Yeah, it felt like you were being watched, and someone's kind of hanging out with you when you're walking around doing whatever. So it's an interesting place. Stacey, I think you would enjoy it way too much. So
okay, way too much.
it's interesting.
Yeah. Well, it's calling to me, so I got to do it this summer.
Yeah,
so
I think so.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah,
I definitely think.
Yeah, we had last time I went, I was with like Chris Salmon and Sean Austin, and a friend of mine went, and we kept getting like some really nasty stuff coming across the spirit box, like sexual.
Oh yeah, you were saying this, yeah.
And that was crazy, man. But it kept saying the one, like wherever Sean and I would start a session at, we got it on EVP like twice, and then we got the one, like we were in the basement and we heard something walking across, above us, and I ran up the steps to check and came back down. I was like, "There's nobody up there."
Yeah,
and it said the one is here or something. And then like all communication stopped, and then we got that again 2 or 3 more times throughout the night. The one, but it never told us. But all the people, man, all the autographs or people that put stuff up in there.
Yeah.
It's like,
Oh, Andy, you're all over the place. I saw your name 6 different times. Every corner,
But
Andy Andrews, Andy Andrews. I'm like, Jesus Christ, how many times has he been here?
I've been there a lot.
Yeah, you see that?
But just think of all
Gotta
that
cat me out at Wildwood.
energy, man.
Wow.
All that energy from all those people that have been all these places and stuff going in there too, you know.
Mhm.
Oh yeah.
Well, and words are spells. So when you write your words on something, it leaves a mark, and it does leave some of that energy there. Like it really does.
Oh yeah. I believe that
My
1,000%.
candle just exploded. Like
Is that what
the wick,
happened? Is that why there's so much
wick
smoke?
just. Well, I lit an incense,
Oh, okay.
but it's like now like there's black everywhere.
How did it explode? What? Oh my God! This
It was weird. It was the wick just went like that and exploded.
the ghost of Wildwood.
Oh, you don't know my house. My house is very haunted.
I do
My house is
recall
built
you
in
saying some
19.
weird things about that house. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, some very strange things happen here. I also have a poltergeist. Actually, I haven't had poltergeist activity recently in the past couple of weeks. But yeah, there's definitely something here.
So you can't really see it, but there's. Oh, I just made it worse. That doll right over there.
I was looking at that when you first got on.
Yeah,
I
that
did
came
too.
from the Creeper Gallery, an oddity shop in New Hope, Pennsylvania.
Yes.
They just moved to locations actually, but they have a back room full of like haunted objects and so forth. That's not one of them. That was just hanging out, on a chair, just chilling, and it stuck out to me. I was like, you know what, I kind of want to buy this doll, so I got it for a pretty good price, and I'm hoping she's actually something's attached to it, but we'll see. She hasn't moved on her own, at least. Nothing too crazy has happened. I might do some investigating with it, so we'll see. We'll see what happens with it.
Mm-hmm.
But so far,
that's really cool.
Being pretty quiet.
Okay, so I do have a question. I'm going to kind of go back, like we started talking about your locations, stuff like that. How did you come up with and start like MONDOdocs, like, and also tell you about the name, what if it means something?
Yeah.
Just give us a little background on that.
Yeah. So back in 2019, I was living in Pittsburgh, and I wanted to do something, a YouTube channel and a traditional weird documentary channel that focused on the weird things of Pennsylvania and New Jersey and New York and so forth. Some paranormal stuff, but just a lot of strange and unusual topics, and alternative topics like drag shows, punk drag shows, and so forth. And my first video was actually at a haunted lake in New Jersey. And then I did a cemetery safari, and then I was filming a drag show in downtown Pittsburgh, and that was very early 2020. And we all remember what happened early 2020. Everything shut down. So I had to come up with a different plan, kinda, for MONDOdocs. So eventually I moved back to Eastern PA in July of 2020 and just started doing cemetery videos, urban explorations, went to the abandoned PA Turnpike Tunnel and so forth. And the paranormal stuff started doing pretty well for a small channel, which is still a pretty small channel. But it became more interesting to me to focus more on the paranormal side of things. Like I said before, I began to have more questions than answers, and just meeting different people with their own experiences and stories of the paranormal really fascinated me as well. So I just kept doing more videos on the paranormal, and I'm trying to get back into the idea of doing more quote unquote traditional documentary filmmaking for the channel, but definitely not going to give up on the paranormal side of things because it's interesting to me. It's a realm that we don't understand, but there are so many theories on what it could be. But yeah, that's kind of just the short version of how MONDOdocs got started. Mondo is it's world in Italian basically. So back in the 60s, these two Italian filmmakers made a documentary called Mondo Cane, which is kind of like a shockumentary. It's an over-the-top documentary about how other cultures handle sex and death, essentially. And that kind of developed a whole trend, a whole subgenre of documentary filmmaking, where filmmakers would do their own Mondo films about sex and death. And And there's a whole like, is it fake? Is it real? And Mondo was always a term that kind of stuck with me. And I like the idea of like an over the top documentary and having people question, is this actually real? Is it fake? And so forth. So I like that idea. And I kind of want people to watch my videos and think, is this actually real or not? Like, did he really catch that EVP? Because sometimes some EVPs can be so over the top. Like Andy, you remember my Conjuring House video, I think. We caught some little girl asking, "Are you a ghost?" And it's clear as day. And I don't know. It's just, I like the idea. I want people to watch my videos and just question them and think about them and just kind of, not study them, but just leave some kind of weird impact on them, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
That's where the M. Night Shyamalan comes in. Like, that's why I reference you to that, because that's what, kind of like his movies do. Like, yes, exactly. Like, you're still left with questions.
Yeah. And I try to incorporate more of a filmmaking style into my videos. I try to incorporate the whole filmmaking aspect into the paranormal, which I think a lot of young filmmakers are doing nowadays. There's a lot more filmmakers getting into the paranormal, which I think is awesome. And we're seeing a lot of that on YouTube, which I think is great. But yeah, that's what I, really enjoy doing. It's just, I'm a filmmaker first, then an investigator. And, if I catch anything paranormal in my videos, great. If not, hopefully I made something, worth watching at least,
Yeah. Have you always been an investigator? Has that always been like your background? Like, has it always been an interest of yours, or was it like, what got you into it?
I mean, I've always been a horror fanatic. I grew up on horror, and obsessed with ghost stories. Back in 2006 was the first time I really did any kind of investigating. We went to a haunted lake in New Jersey, which ended up being my first video of MONDOdocs many, many years later. But that kind of sucked me in. And then we went to some insane asylum that was abandoned, which kind of got me more into urban exploration. And then it was just, it kind of went on from there. And I kind of took a break from investigating until 2019 or 2020 when I started MONDOdocs. So, yeah, I've been into investigating, or the idea of it, for a long time now.
But the filmmaking piece, you've kind of always been like, that's been your
Oh,
passion?
yeah. I mean, ever since I was a little kid, I wanted to be a filmmaker. I mean, what really inspired me, I was maybe 7 years old, and I was watching Attack of the Killer Tomatoes on VHS, and I thought, I want to make movies about killer tomatoes.
You always wanted to do weird stuff, and you always wanted to do film.
Yeah, just always make really weird movies. Just weird, gross movies. So that was always my goal. Weird, and yeah.
You need to get with Steve Barry, man. Him and I were talking last night. He's got some.
I know. He wants to do some. He wants to make a horror movie.
Right. That's what we were talking about.
I love that.
Yeah.
Love that.
No, Steve Barry.
So that being said, what's the ultimate scare that you've had out there when you were?
That's a good one.
I don't even know. I think, honestly, the Hoover House. I was by myself. My first time there ever. And Steve and Pam were like, "Hey, we're going to leave for a few hours, so you're by yourself." And I was like, "Okay, great." And I was just walking around filming, and the clock would go off by itself, and I would be almost shitting my pants. And I remember going into the game room. One of the back rooms behind the bar area, and I didn't realize Chucky was still home, the dog, the little Chihuahua. So I walk in the room, not expecting a soul, and there's this little black mass that jumps up to my hip, basically, and I almost have a heart attack and just die on the spot, not realizing there's a dog in that room. So here I am in this haunted house by myself, and here's Chucky, not realizing he was there, nearly scared me to death. Yeah. Oh my God.
Yeah.
He is a superstar.
Yeah,
that was part of the scariest thing I've ever experienced. Yeah. I mean, it was terrifying. I was very startled. Maybe I don't know. That's really it's just funny that maybe the scariest thing I've experienced. But I mean, the Farnsworth House. I mean, it's not scary there. It's just it's creepy, but it's more fascinating than scary. And I tell people that all the time. Even my coworkers, like, "Don't you ever get scared?" And it's like, not really, because it's more it's more intriguing. It's more, okay, something's happening. I can't see what it is or who it is, but there's something there with me. So
And that's exactly
what
the
is it?
way, yeah, that's the way I am about it. I mean, there's times that I've been creeped out by myself that I know I should with my gift. I know that I need to get the hell out of there type of
Mhm.
deal. But other than that, I mean, I'm the
Yeah.
same way. When things start, I mean, that adrenaline starts pushing and,
Yeah.
you're getting ready to, you're getting ready to experience something that you may not ever again. I mean, I look at it like
Mhm.
that, and yeah, I mean, that's a big thing nowadays with the entertainers out here. They want to scream and fall out and everything else. You know what I'm saying?
And
While
that's,
they're
and that's the thing. Everyone always watches this video. It's like,
I like to scream. No, just
uh,
kidding.
the thing is, they people see that, and I think that's what investigating is. It's like it's not. Investigating can be kind of boring. You're sitting in the dark for a
Okay.
couple of hours
absolutely, man.
talking to a
Oh yeah, I
wall.
don't scream very often, except when Andy decides to bark or whoop in the woods.
Andy does what now?
Oh shit.
But no, I tell people,
That's more of our Bigfoot adventures.
oh god, which we have to do. We have to go to Camp Michaud and look for Bigfoot.
Yes, you got to.
That's
Yes, yes.
For those who don't know, Camp Michaud is basically it's a World
Mhm.
War II. There's a World War II
Yep.
POW camp there. It's abandoned, but it's mostly gone. But the foundations and the ruins are still there, and it's a
I have a
weird.
video there too. So yeah.
Yeah, it's a weird energy, man. Like that place is strange, and you get no service out there. If something happens, you're done for.
No service. Yeah, I was like when I went out there, it was definitely
Were you there at nighttime?
weird. I did not. I did not. I was there at dusk, close to night. But
Right.
it was. I have children, so
Yeah, fair
it was
enough.
one of those weekends where I had to get back to the kids. So it wasn't planned. It was one of those like, hey, let's stop here on the way home and check this out. And
Right.
we were coming back from the Hoover House, and we come back that way because where I live, I drive through Michaud
Yeah.
every time.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I
I
didn't
didn't,
get. We stayed till about sunset.
I didn't realize it was so close to Waynesboro or Gettysburg. Like I knew it was kind of near Gettysburg, but I didn't realize I'd be driving to the Hoover House and I see signs. So I'm like, oh my god, it's
Mhm.
right. It's right here. But yeah, we were there in the daytime until until 10 o'clock at night, investigating and filming. And it was weird. It was quiet, but it was weird. We had some like motion ball activity here and there.
I've never been.
Yeah, you would dig it. Like it's the middle of the woods, the middle of nowhere, and it's just
Susan, you're going to the Camp Michaud in 2 weeks. Yeah, that's yeah. Yeah, I love that place. I really do.
yeah.
We sat down by the creek and I just sat there and then I go off exploring. Like I
Yeah.
just go deep in the woods. I'm like the person like get me off the path. I'm
Yeah,
going
right.
in the woods.
Yeah, but you
So I did
also
some of
got.
that.
Didn't you get a guy walking? Didn't you show me that?
I do. Yes, I have that video. I haven't edited it all. Like I'm not a good editor.
What happened? It was a guy
forever.
walking?
But I had some. Let me see if I could find. Oh, you're going squatching. Okay, let me see if I can find it while you guys are talking. And
I do want to do a documentary on Bigfoot, some kind of Sasquatch.
You
themed
should.
video.
you should.
Got some
You have
spots.
to.
That's
Have to.
that might be there. You go. Nice. I'm a fan. But no, yeah, that might be a goal for this year. We'll see. I wanted to do one last year, but it just didn't happen. Kinda. I did a documentary on my friend Sarah. Sarah Grimm. She grew up in Point Phillip, which is where I kind of moved to from Jersey in the early 2000s. But she says that town is cursed, and there's a lot of weird things happening there, a lot of Native American energy and so forth. So I did a documentary, interviewed her, and this and that. And then a few of us went into the woods on the Appalachian Trail to investigate and to film at night. And it was fucking strange. Like we had voices, we had a whistle, and we were in the middle of the woods at night. And I've gone up there many times in the daytime. There's nobody up there, especially at night. But it was weird. That was a fun video to do. You're out in the woods filming, and you just hear weird things all around you.
Right before somebody snags you up, go on.
Yeah, Yeah, right. Well, we
So
they
I
found
didn't capture that on video. That was something I saw out of my eyes, and then I grabbed the video, and I started recording. Sorry, I just was looking at the video about
what
the
was
guy.
this exactly? What did you see?
So if you go down to the trash place, what do you call those things?
The landfill?
No, it's not no, like at Camp Michaud where they would put the incinerator, like where the incinerator was,
Oh yeah,
like
yeah. Mhm.
if you walk off of there and you go down to the creek, there's a creek back
Yeah.
down. So we sat down at the creek, and over on this right side of the creek, that's where I saw it. It wasn't in the actual Camp Michaud. It was like on the other side of the creek, because there's like a logging road back there. It was like right back there.
Yeah.
So and you can actually take that logging road to go up to the dam.
Okay, yeah. Yep.
Yeah, so it was like in that area, like in between the dam and the incinerator.
That's weird. I want to
Yeah.
go back there. There's
Yeah.
something. I feel like you go on the right night or right day, you can get a lot of activity.
Yeah, I agree. Definitely.
Just learn some German.
Yeah, I
Go
need to
there.
check that out.
We got German, like we did get on our I think it was at the Spirit Box or we were getting some German words when we were there.
Well, in Gettysburg at the Farnsworth House, Sarah Belling got a German voice, a German EVP. Someone saying a German name. It was like Lipschitz or something like that, some German name. And we're like, why would there be Germans right in downtown Gettysburg? But during the Battle of Gettysburg, the Union had German immigrants fighting for them,
Well,
and they
Dutch too. So
yeah, but that too as well. The German, soldiers were more, they were known as cowards, who would run away from the Confederates, and they were shot down. But
Wonder what Farnsworth is, like where that originated, that name.
the Farnsworth House?
No, just the last name Farnsworth. I wonder what.
It was a general. I forget what general it was.
I mean, like, as in, like, what nationality, I guess is what I'm saying.
Oh, gotcha.
Oh, we lost Stacy.
I'm here. Sorry.
I just wonder what Farnsworth originates from.
Maybe
Or
it's
Audrey's friend, their last name was Farnsworth.
let's see, Farnsworth nationality.
Old English.
Is it all?
I was going to say it sounds English, but
Old English, which refers to ferns such as bracken and worth, meaning settlement.
Yep.
Where ferns are abundant. It's a fairy name.
But for those who are watching now, go to the Farnsworth House in Gettysburg.
Yes,
it's
definitely a Farnsworth House.
The people that work there are great. The breakfast is pretty good, but it's a crazy place when it wants to be. So in the summertime, it gets pretty packed. It's difficult to get a room. I might get a room there that Saturday at the Bash, to Gettysburg Bash. Which, Stacey, you're going to be there, right? At the Bash?
Yes.
In July, yeah. So that's have you've been there before, right? Did you go last year?
Yeah.
Yeah?
I've been there a couple years. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I've been going since 2021, and
I was going to say, yeah, right.
I was really quiet after a couple years, and then so I've started to promote myself more, and so now people are seeing me more out there.
Yeah.
But I was kind of a little back here and just like doing my little thing and
just hang out. Yeah, no, I know what you mean.
Now I bought a retractable banner because
I saw that on Facebook.
one.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Oh my goodness! I pulled that thing open today. It's like 6 feet tall, and I'm like, "There's a big picture of me," and I'm like, "No."
Yes. Are you going to bring that to Pennhurst?
I am.
Yes.
If I have the courage enough to put it up.
So you going to Pennhurst?
Me? No. I went there last year. It was okay. I mean, most conventions are the same to me, except for the Bash. I love the Bash.
Yeah.
But for the most part, I'm not a big convention person, unless it's like Monster Mania, the horror convention, which that can get old sometimes. But I don't know. I'm not.
Did you go to WrestleMania this year?
I went to the WWE Experience.
Oh, that's right. You did.
The convention they had. Yeah. Right. So I am into wrestling a little bit. I like older 90s wrestling and like Japanese hardcore extreme. That's gory, violent wrestling, the barbed wire, explosives, thumbtacks, that kind of thing. Alligator death matches.
Right.
I have a lot of Japanese wrestling VHS tapes at my parents' house, actually.
Yes, Trista, I agree with you. Nothing beats the Bash.
Yeah, the Bash is Yeah, and I don't know if you tried to put submit a video yet, Lawrence? Have you heard about that?
To what? To
So they do on a contest where you submit a video on why you love the bash
Mhm.
and why you go.
Audrey, you
And
down
then,
here?
and then you also
Audrey,
tell them
is that you?
like what next year is, or what you want. You bring up a theme, what you think it should be the following year.
Oh, I did see that. Yeah.
But you win two passes to the dinner.
Okay. Is that still going on? Is that still ongoing?
Yeah, for the next week or two, I think.
Okay. Did you guys submit
I
videos?
didn't do a video.
But you have to send it to Pam and Steve's messenger on Facebook. That's the only place to accept them.
Why I love the bash and what theme should be next year. I gotta think about that one. What theme? I don't know. What theme?
We should do a horror theme next year.
It's a horror theme. Halloween in July. There we go. Yeah.
Halfway to Halloween.
There we go. They're doing Christmas in July. It's time for Halloween in July. Right. So here we go. Perfect. So that's it.
I'm seeing it now. I'm seeing the post on Facebook. People are like, hey, I don't care what season it is. Happy Halloween.
Yeah. Yeah. Some of us celebrate Halloween all year round. I mean, look at this friggin' room. I mean, you can't see all of it, but it's all decked out.
Almost had a
I saw Halloween. Wait, where is it at? There's my little ghosty. There he is. Oh, I can't get him.
Oh, nice.
My little, but yeah, I'm a big Halloween fan.
Yeah.
So I wanted to ask you, I want to thank you actually, first of all, because you know how Facebook, if someone says they're interested in an event or they're going to an event, then it shows all your friends that you're are interested in this event.
Yeah.
There was an event near me that you were interested in, and it came up on my feed, and it was the at the graveyard in Columbia.
Yes. Which event was that? Was it like a market? Or was it macabre market?
Macabre market.
Or something like that. Yeah.
And so I'm going to be a vendor there now. So I was.
Hell yeah.
Are you going? Are you?
When is that? When is it?
June 15th, I believe.
That place is crazy. I'm just going to tell you that Melissa Anderson on here, her and I were there a couple weeks ago, and
it is crazy. I've been there.
June 15th. I got nothing going on my planner.
I kept getting this name, man, like Griff. That's all I kept saying, man. I could hear it and we're looking around. I got an EVP that says I'm Griff. Clear as day, man. I'm Griff.
Where is this?
This was at the cemetery.
The cemetery where they're doing the event in the actual cemetery.
Yeah. And the next thing I know, man, we're looking around, and she shines her flashlight up, and there's the name right on the tombstone, man. It was back further off. It wasn't. Yeah, that freak. We were out of there pretty quick. She's talking. Yeah, she knows. But
actually, it's always Halloween at my house too.
Yeah, there it was. I kept saying Graph. That's what it was. Man, that was crazy. I was we were out of there.
Which cemetery is it again? I feel like I saw it. I know I hit.
Mount Bethel.
Okay. Yeah.
Bethel.
Okay. I've gone down there to Columbia at one point for a
that place is intense. Columbia.
They also have there. You make it down there, man. They have another graveyard that actually has slaves. That actually have slaves buried there. It's an old cemetery, man. It's not far away from that one.
I went to the one cemetery. I forget the name of it though. It might have been Mount Bethel or whatever it's called. But I went down there for an Alba Twitch festival.
I don't know if Melissa knows the name of the other one or not. I'm talking about the one that
I do the Alba Twitch festival too.
I went down there back in 2021, 2022.
Where they have that at?
In Columbia.
Right there. Right where you were at?
Along the water, yeah.
It's like a park. There's a park along the water, right across, right where the cemetery is.
Yeah.
I'm disoriented in but it's right there.
Yeah, it's a cool place. I mean, I like it.
Yeah.
But the Alba Twitch Festival was it was small. It was cute though. It was a good little time. So
why does that not surprise me, Stephanie?
of graveyards.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you can
So-
hide behind the tombstone, Stephanie, and nobody sees you. All you gotta do is just
I know she's the one time like I can actually be somewhere and there's someone shorter than me is when I'm with Stephanie. I love you, Stephanie. But like I'm like, yes, I actually feel tall right now.
So do you think
That's cool.
cemeteries are typically haunted? Do you think there's active spirits there? And some, because there's a big debate if cemeteries are haunted or not. Do you think, some think, and
Just as haunted as other locations. I don't think it's.
I mean, it's there's the theory of why should it be haunted? They're resting grounds. There's no reason to be unrest in a cemetery. Others have different opinions, but I'm indifferent. I don't know how to feel if a cemetery would be haunted or not.
I would think that you wouldn't stick with your
Your
physical,
vessel. Yeah.
your physical Zion Hill, that's it. Zion Church or Zion Hill Cemetery was the other one. But yeah, I mean, unless there's unfinished business or I wonder if deceased visits the other deceased, like somebody else in the family or something. I mean, it's a bunch of stuff, and I mean that maybe there we go, man. Maybe that everybody else does.
I have a big theory. Yeah.
Maybe people do stuff on vampires and everything else. Maybe we should start doing something on cemeteries.
Yeah, and that's I'm glad you said vampires because not that they're in cemeteries, but my theory is like I have multiple, but like people go to cemeteries sad. People go to cemeteries to grieve. People don't go to cemeteries to have a party. So you have this energy, and when you talk about the energy of emotions, so people are going to go in there and they're sad and they have this emotion and it's very heavy, and that's prime, I guess, pickings for negative energies, negative elementals, demons, if you want to call them that, something like these negative energies. So I think they hang out there. It's like these.
Well, look at
there's
Liz
a name
Miller.
for 'em where they grab our graveyard centers for the dead.
I think, yeah. I mean,
they grab on. It's like almost like if you go into Walmarts, they have these elementals in all the corners because and mass grocery stores because they're feeding off these energies. They're not live. I don't believe that. Like they're not like they're so old spirits or they're the energies that we've created ourselves that tend to keep feeding and keep feeding and keep feeding on emotional states of people. Does that make sense?
It does.
It does. I don't know. I think I would think they'd be more, not necessarily, and the term demonic is thrown around a lot. I think, I don't know. I feel like cemeteries would be more, if they were active, if they did have some kind of lively, no pun intended, spirits or energy there, I feel like it would be maybe more on the peaceful side of things, because you have families visiting their loved ones who are deceased. So if I was deceased and I had a family visit me in the cemetery, I feel like I would be at peace knowing they're with me in that present. I don't know. Does that make sense? Is that? Yeah. I don't know. I feel like,
and then you have the ones that might have been buried alive, like with the Saved by the Bell,
right.
Now, I wonder if there's any of those left in that cemetery as old as it is.
The bells don't exist much anymore, but you can see where they once were on some of.
That's what I'm saying. Like they used to hang them on
Yeah, it would be. You would see it where it would hung, like a place where it would be hung on the stone.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I watched a documentary on that not long ago, man, and it was like 1 out of 7 people, man. Yeah,
buried alive.
Yeah, and then they would ring the bell, and it's like.
I watched a podcast. It's called Lore.
I'm alive. What was it called?
I watched Lore. Have you ever listened to that podcast?
I've heard of it. I never listened to it, but I've heard of it.
Oh, it's good. You should listen to it. Like it has a lot of like legends and unexplainable stuff. And they do a whole episode on the bells and the graveyards. Mm-hmm.
No, what's Stacey or Stephanie saying? Local
children singing next. Yeah, that'd be interesting. Can you imagine hearing kids in a cemetery singing? I'd be like, dig a hole, put me in it, and done.
I'm coming to Maine, Ashley. I've been trying to get there for a while. I'm coming. I am.
I hear
Ashley,
Maine is.
What part of Maine do you live in, Ashley? I know Maine pretty well.
Never been to Maine, but I hear Maine has some good spots in it.
We should go.
New England is just a pretty fun place to investigate.
Swing one that I've heard of that swing. I think, yeah, New England. I lived up in Connecticut for a while,
Wow.
and there's a lot of things. It's just there's a lot of history there.
Yeah,
Exactly where you're at.
Connecticut.
Yeah, I've been all the way to the top of Maine, and we stopped and oh crap! Now I can't remember what the. Anyway, it was a big Lauren Air Force Base, which is all the way up top, like it's like right on the Canadian border. And they were telling us some of the Mounties were up there, like helping out with what we were there for. And they were actually spooked out by just being there at the Air Force Base because of all the UFO sightings and stuff. I said, that's like, what's your thought on UFO stuff there?
There we go.
We've talked everything else. So.
Well, I mean, I don't think, obviously there's life beyond our planet. Obviously, I don't think there's any kind of intelligent entities visiting us from other planets or other solar systems or universes. I don't believe in that necessarily. Right. I think if there's some kind of unknown light form or species that's making itself known to us, I think it's already here on our planet and probably in the oceans, to be honest with you.
That's where I'm at. The oceans.
We know more about space than we do about our own oceans. So there's a lot down there that we have not discovered yet. So I feel like whatever, if there is a such thing as UFOs, it's definitely not from space. It's definitely from the oceans, my opinion. But
that's really cool because I've had some thoughts on that myself. Like I really kind of agree.
Just watched a documentary on that, and they were talking about the heat and stuff, like the cores that these ships could be possibly using, because like they're talking like nuclear. You notice that every nuclear place that we have has supposedly been visited, and they're like, and also you're looking at up north where it's all ice and stuff like that, Antarctica and stuff, they're saying stuff's up that way.
Right.
That's just frozen water, and it's always like something.
Is that a place that you want to go? Is Antarctica? I have a feeling that would be some place you'd like to go, Lawrence. And Andy, I know you want to go there. We've talked about that, but
do you know Josh Gates? When he had Destination Truth, that show, they went to Antarctica to investigate.
They did.
I forget what they. Yeah, I used to love that show. I used to watch it all the time. It was on Netflix. I just binge watch it all the time.
Have you watched the new one where they're doing more of the paranormal stuff?
Yeah.
Was it Destination X or whatever?
Destination X.
It's Expedition X. Oh yeah. There's one he has, and it's the other one he sends his two people, like the guy and the girl, off to do their own thing. Yeah. I've seen a little bit of that. I've seen them where they go to Romania, to that forest. I forgot what is it, the Baku forest, something like that, in Romania. Super haunted. He went there for his Destination Truth show back many years ago, and then they just did it again on Expedition X, I think it's called. And that place is on my bucket list. That Romanian forest, just to go there and film it, just be there in that wilderness and just experience. So honestly, I feel like sometimes what's outdoors is more active than what's indoors. Don't. It's just your mind automatically just debunks a lot of it because you think it's just animals, and a lot of times, it's just wildlife making noises. The tiniest little bird can sound like a Bigfoot walking through the forest. Like a lot of small animals can make you think there's someone there with you. But at the same time, I think the outdoors is much more hyperactive, but there's a lot more energy outdoors.
That's what I was gonna say, the energy, man.
They're drawing the energy from all the elements, from the air, the wind, the trees. There's more energy to use to manifest.
I think that the Conjuring house, I think that's what is more haunted than the actual house itself.
Oh, the backyard is crazy. Yeah, it's we went there, like nothing happened the whole night. It was so quiet. Even the footage, nothing really happened until we were outside. Yeah. We got that EVP of the little kid asking, "Are you a ghost?" It was insane. When I was cutting that footage together and I came across that little bit of EVP, I was mind blown, and I couldn't figure out what it was saying. I'm like, is that Sarah saying it? Is that our friend Danielle? Is it me saying it? Do I sound like a little girl? And it's just like it made me. I just couldn't figure out what that voice was or what it was saying until a few days later. I showed it to my friend Kristen, and as soon as I played it for her, I realized, oh my God, it's a kid asking, "Are you a ghost?" So for those who don't know, we're at the Conjuring house in the backyard investigating. This is 3 of us. We're investigating, filming, and we're asking questions. And we capture on video a voice of a young child asking, "Are you a ghost?" And it's clear as goddamn day. It is right there. Of course, you don't hear it in real time, only on the footage. But it's
Yeah, I've been watching that.
it's so strange, and it validates my theory where I don't think, quote unquote, ghosts are necessarily those who are deceased. I think there's some kind of dimension or universe crossover where maybe we're the ghost, perhaps. It's like the Nicole Kidman movie, The Others, where maybe we're the ghost to them. We're not dead.
Oh my goodness.
But
Our mind thinks so much alike.
there's some kind of crossover happening. And what if that little girl that spoke in the video is that one of the parent daughters, of the family that lived there that was being haunted by whatever is haunting that place? What if it's still 1970 something or 60 or whatever it may be, and they hear 3 jackasses in the backyard asking questions at night? If you're a little kid hearing voices in your own backyard, you're gonna ask, "Are you a ghost?" So I think there's some kind of crossover going there. Same with Point Pleasant, West Virginia. We went to a Mothman lair. I don't believe in I think Mothman is just, I don't believe in Mothman. It's just the lore, the cryptid, whatever. Now, mind you, I couldn't find anything paranormal, anything haunted, or anything like that about Point Pleasant, West Virginia. But we were in one of the bunkers filming. And for those who are curious, the idea is the story is that Mothman would hang out in these old World War II TNT bunkers as his lair, basically. So we're filming, we're just doing our thing, and it's just the 2 of us. And the last bunker we went into, and we didn't hear it in real time. We caught it as an EVP in the video, but you hear me talk a little bit, you hear Sarah talk a little bit, and then you just hear a man's voice from across the bunker, it sounds like, going, "Hello?" And it echoes as if there's someone there with us, but there was no one there with us. And it's like, what if there's some kind of crossover where that's still a military officer during World War II, and that bunker is still being used to store TNT? What if he was in there just doing paperwork, doing whatever? Here's 2 people come in talking a little bit. He's going to ask, "Hello? Who's in here with me in this, this military bunker?" So I don't know. It's interesting. I like that theory.
You watch Doctor Who?
I don't.
Well,
I never got into it.
So I did.
Timey-wimey. Yeah.
So I had some people. It's been a few right pre-COVID. Asked. They had a bed and breakfast in Charlottesville, Virginia, and they asked me to put a team together and come down and investigate. And this place was actually Thomas Jefferson's physician's house. And then what happened was as years went and different, each generation, they all stayed in the same, job. Each of them would become a physician. And as they had children, they'd build onto this. So it become pretty big. And one of the stories there is that early 1900s, one of the sons of the original guy had a daughter that caught, I would say they kept talking about breathing issues. So I'm thinking it was probably either pneumonia or something like that.
Right.
But Flip Searles, him and I were there, Kelly Miller, a bunch of us. And we know that the little girl died there. And we were getting EVPs that were crazy, man. Like a little girl saying, "Doctor," but to back up your theory on what you're saying, Flip and I were having that same conversation, man, down in what they would consider like the restaurant part of things.
Right.
And we were talking and we started to do EVPs, or we did a spirit box first, and we could hear what sounded like a guy, an older gentleman, and then a young girl, like having a conversation. And it would go in and come out, go in and come out. But then we start an EVP session, and this little girl, he picks up a guy saying something, but you can't tell. It's like a mumble. But it sounded exactly like the same guy that we had come through the spirit box. But then you get very clearly this little girl say, "Are you spirits?
Oh, wow.
Or are they spirits?" That's what she said. Are they spirits? Like she's asking the other guy. You know what I'm saying?
If you're the spirits, basically.
And
Yeah.
I'm like, I wonder all these times that you hear "get out," which is a big thing, you know. I
Yeah.
wonder if it's somebody in a different dimension and we're the
What
invader.
if, yeah.
You know?
Or what if they think they hear, because yeah, like you said, get out is a pretty common thing you catch in EVP sessions. What if it's the living person hearing a voice they hear your voice, they don't see you, they think you're some kind of intruder,
Exactly.
or they think they're going nuts because they're hearing voices in their head,
Right.
and they're losing their minds. They're saying get out, basically. So
Yeah.
what if it's that person just telling you to get out, and they think you're the spirit, you're the ghost?
That's like I was in Triangular Field one time and I started playing bugle calls, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And next thing I know, man, like I don't know, I'm pretty positive it was musket that went off within feet from us, man. Like it literally, I could feel the concussion from it. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Right.
and all of us jumped and stuff. I was running EVPs and I went back and listened, man. And like it was really weird because you can hear us talking, you hear the bugle things playing, and then all of a sudden, man, you hear and it sounded like it was way off in the distance, man, the gun going off. But yet it was right there on top of us when it
happened.
did.
Yeah.
And but yeah, there's been quite a few times, man, that I've used trigger objects, I guess you could say, and gotten responses, and it's almost like, are they hearing something like you're saying, a different dimension or something like that, and they're hearing what we would call an EVP on this side. You know what I'm saying? Maybe it's the same thing with them.
And there's got to be
disembodied voice, or
right.
And these locations might have some kind of weird magnetic pull. Maybe there's something. Maybe the veil is thinner at these certain locations where these dimensions can cross over easily, more so than others. So I don't know.
And like we do have certain areas in the earth that, like Sedona, that have these vortexes.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
It makes you wonder. I like that theory because I think it makes a lot of sense that, are we just hearing energy from another world? Are we just hearing like another dimension or another timeline?
I've thought that.
And it shows that Gettysburg might be one of the most sensitive places on the planet because it's so
are we
active.
all just brains in a jar?
Or that.
Well, I mean, the biggest and like I can tell you, I mean, Stacy's been there. We have
hair today.
We have a couple haunted objects that's in my store there now.
Yeah.
And we made a haunted room in there our haunted object room. But we have, I don't know if we had that when you were there or not, the doll that we pulled out of the people's house.
I remember there was a doll there in a display case.
Yeah.
I remember that. Yeah.
But lately, I don't know what it's been because we put everything in that room, possibly Mr. John Cubby. Hey. But we have had like literally come in and the shelving in our refrigerator has been pulled down, and you got to literally lift that up, man, and move it out. And we put it back and put all the drinks back on it, made sure it was level, sitting there. Within 10 minutes, man, all of a sudden it looked like it just went whoop, bam, and did it again.
That's weird.
Yeah, but it's like, but we also, I mean, I'm very open to talk to Bob quite a bit when I go in the mornings because I'm there by myself. So I'll just go to the restroom and I'll be like, "Morning, Bob," or something, and, like that. But we've heard, but the thing is, we have these objects that are all together and stuff. They're all from the same time period. And
right.
I don't know, man. It's like we have been getting more activity. And I don't know if it's because we're pushing, something, or I don't know, but
I think Gettysburg is just a very, very high in energy kind of place.
Mm-hmm.
For whatever reason it may be. I think the battle might have enhanced it, definitely. I mean, I know people who claim that the town was much, the area is much, was definitely, they think the hauntings, whatever's there, goes back way before the Civil War, before the Battle
Oh,
of
yes.
Gettysburg.
Well,
I mean,
there was like a mass,
Native American massacre.
mass.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah.
So there's a lot going on there, which is why every single building in that place seems to be haunted. And not all of it is Gettysburg, not all of it is Civil War spirit, like the Farnsworth House.
Yeah.
A lot of the energy is there. A lot of the activity there is not all Civil War. It's not all, war related. So it's just.
Well, I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that they also buried them and then unburied them. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I mean, there's, the more that I'm getting out and meeting people that's been, historians or, one of my guides, her husband is he's a battlefield park guide. And I get talking to him and he's telling me like, the mass amount of people at the high school where the football field is that they dug up, when they were, or remains, I should say.
Right.
And they didn't move them, man. They just, like put the dirt back on them. And it's like, so they're not, I mean, then they got people, practicing football on top of them, stuff like that. And it's like,
down by that pond area here is pretty weird. I've gone there during the daytime, not in the nighttime, but here the pond area is pretty
Where's
weird
that
too. By the Skull. So you buy
They don't let you back there anymore.
That's what I hear. Yeah.
It's called the Grove.
Yeah.
Yeah. They the Grove, I had quite a few experiences down there. But yeah, you would think disturbing bodies like that,
I'm sure it disrupted some kind of peace.
Right. And I'm sure there's stuff built on top of bodies. And I mean,
that whole town. There might have been Native American bodies before that too. So think about it.
I mean, that whole town was a battlefield, and I have all these new buildings and all the plumbing in there. So I'm sure there's a lot of remains still in the ground that were disrupted, moved around because of, construction and new buildings and so forth. So I'm sure there's a lot of disruption of who was buried where in that town.
Yeah, it's really weird there, man. Like living there or running a business there now.
Yeah,
it's so much energy, man, going on. Like everything's like kind of, during the season is what we call it. You got hundreds of people, man, and everybody's going in every direction. And you got people that are pissed, and you got people that are really having a good time, and you got, you know what I'm saying? And so all of that energy, man, on top of, you know what I'm saying, all these thousands of people that died. And and then wintertime comes, like you said, then it seems like that's when you start recognizing. So you have a whole summer full of energy. I mean, that's Stacey talked about this a lot. You have this energy just pumped and pumped and pumped and pumped all the time.
So many people through there.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. And that's kind of like Wildwood, if you want to go back to that, looking at all those signatures on the walls, man. I mean, you got all them people and where they have been, all these haunted locations, stuff like that. And then wherever, I mean, that just definitely, I mean, maybe the more energy that you put into something, maybe that makes the veil thinner too. I don't know. Like people use the Jacob's ladder and get a lot of response out of that, and that's kind of pushing energy. I mean, every piece of equipment we practically have is used for vibration or frequency or energy. Right. Anything we use. So, I mean, we're definitely working with that. So it's not far-fetched to think that the more you push into it, the thinner the veil could become, Yeah.
It's true. Do you think it could get to the point where you push it so much, where you just open something and that's it? Now you're getting to the point of, potential science fiction and horror. But, what if you get to the point of you get, because there's so many more people who have access to investigating and equipment and so forth more than ever
Yeah.
before.
Yeah.
And it's become more mainstream than ever before.
Mhm.
So do you think it's a bubble that could burst essentially where something could, potentially happen? I don't know what. I'm not sure if I believe that myself, but is there something that could, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I'll tell you one thing, not to open wounds or to throw salt on wounds, but you have a lot of objects that are getting that are traveling around, the states and being
Yeah.
shown to people, and
Mhm.
and I mean, even little bitty paracons and stuff, like, well, even me, man, with the doll there at the inside the store and stuff like that, if these things actually have what they say they have on them,
I mean, it depends. It depends who you're referencing, and it depends if their objects are actually haunted or not.
If they're actually haunted or not. Yeah.
but you're
But
talking about like things like, if these things are holding energy,
yeah,
you're spreading that energy just a little bit here, a little bit there, a little bit, so that bubble's kind of starting to, and
yeah,
very well could burst, man, at some point in time. And I mean, do we want to be around when that happens? I mean, then you could start. The first thing that comes to my mind is thinking like when they released all the ones on Ghostbusters, and there's like spirits everywhere, you know what I'm saying, and stuff like that.
someone better call Bill Murray immediately when this happens.
That's right. He is the man.
But I don't know.
No, I mean, we keep pushing, man. We could definitely. It doesn't mean that we're going to find answers that we're going to want to know.
Yeah, and I don't think we want to know the answer sometimes. But
well, I think we do want to know. We want to know, but we don't. Like, I think
right.
I kind of do this for that one answer of like, is what happens after here, like,
right. And
look,
it.
John says he's on it. I'm on it.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, like I said, I am.
He's calling Bill.
I'm iffy on the whole thing. I mean, I know I think it's a bunch of different. I think the whole paranormal term it's an umbrella term. There's a lot of elements that fall under that umbrella.
I agree.
Dimension crossover. I'm sure some of it is, those who are deceased trying to communicate with us, and we're trying to communicate with them. Maybe it's aliens that are trying to communicate with us, and they're using our loved ones as a trick to get to us, to communicate with us. Who knows? There's so many things, so many theories on what the paranormal is, and because obviously there's something out there, something we can't see, but that we can hear, that we can communicate with, that we're finding new and better ways of communicating with whoever is out there. But the question is, who and what is it really?
Right.
That's the $1 million question. We know there's something out there.
Yeah.
I mean, what is it exactly?
The biggest thing for me when I got into paranormal, outside of just trying to figure out what I was seeing,
right,
was helping people. And that falls under the same. Helping people just doesn't mean you're helping them out with like a haunting,
right,
like that. It also, for people that are grieving, that want to know that, grandpa died, and they want to make sure that he's
at peace.
And like, I went and filmed with Mustafa and Brandon Alvis down in Kentucky, man, and
right.
that's the show that they're doing about, is to try to get people who are grieving. They brought people in and interviewed them that have had contact with loved ones since they've passed, and but now it's gotten too much into entertainment, man, and people are pushing every single button that they can and every limit to just try to get that. They're not doing it to help people, man. They're doing it to get, for entertainment. I mean, to get that last, I got the best EVP or something like that. And that much ego and that much nastiness that some of these people are putting into it, man,
right,
that can do some damage. I mean, doing what side of the paranormal that I do with my friend Mike, a lot of times when we go into these disturbed homes, there's a lot of chaos and arguing and
Oh yeah.
stuff like that. So I mean, all that builds up, man. I mean, it's like a freaking pin getting ready to pop the bubble, as you would speak.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, and that's what you're saying about that bubble. And like, my theory is that I don't want to say a percentage, but I say at least half of all paranormal activity comes from our own doing, like our
Bingo.
creating our own spirits and like, I mean, there's so much theory. Like if we start believing something,
Yeah.
if I start believing something and I tell my neighbor, and then that neighbor tells that neighbor, and then that neighbor tells that neighbor, then it actually becomes real and it actually can create itself. So
Right.
it starts holding its own energy. There's a term for it, and for some reason it's slipping
Yeah.
my mind.
I know what you mean. Yeah.
But it
Poltergeist
creates
is
a
exactly that.
poltergeist. But there's another one. There's like an Indian term for it.
It's like a law of manifestation, like John's saying.
Like you almost create your own energies to it.
I mean, for people
Right.
that don't know, I work with, well, Stacy knows, I work with an exorcist. He is, he is a sanctioned exorcist, taught at the Vatican. And we go into these places, man. And I'll tell you, like, we just did one not long ago where literally, man, these people, thought they had a couple haunted objects and stuff like that. But the thing was, there was alcohol involved. There was alcoholism, some heavy drug use, a lot of arguing, stuff like that. But literally what ended up happening was they, I believe the energy with all the arguing and stuff like that, things would like fall off the shelf and stuff like, it was poltergeist activity, and I think it was from we know that it was from that energy, but then they gave it a name and started to call out for it and stuff like that. And then so they gave it an identity. And then after a while, you're pushing so much trying to get this entity to do something because your buddy's there drinking with you and stuff and throw the ball, But the thing is, it ends up becoming self-aware, man. And that's where the issues start coming.
So my a friend of mine, she has a 1-year-old child, and her and the baby's father got into an argument, and the father left for a little bit. So it's just her and the child, and she would let me know when she put the kid to bed, she would hear footsteps coming up the stairs, and she would have her bedroom door open and close by itself. And just weird things would happen in the house altogether. And I asked her, I'm like, when did this begin? And she did mention that this mostly started happening or increased in activity after her and the baby's father got into an argument, and the guy left. So with that in mind, I went over there to investigate, and I took it with a grain of salt. She was like, Lawrence, this place, there's something here. And I'm like, okay, well, I believe you, but let's see what it could be. Maybe I can debunk it. We'll see. Mm-hmm. So I get over there and put the kid to bed, and we're at her dining room table with some candles. And I got my phone with the voice memos, going to do an EVP session. And I'm like, all right, I want to do a very bare bones investigation just to see. So I'm like, hey, my name is Lawrence, blah, blah, blah. I'm here to talk to whoever's here, with my friend here. And, I did the knocking game. I'm like, all right, I'm going to knock on this table. If you can, knock back. Knock 3 times on the table. All of a sudden, somewhere in the house, mind you, it's just me, her, and the kid, who's asleep upstairs in her crib. All you hear is boom, boom, boom. Somewhere in that, like loud, 3 loud thuds. Somewhere in the house. Later on, I do the whistle game. I'm like, all right, if you can, I'm going to whistle.
The whistle.
Try to mimic me. And I whistled, and nothing really happened until maybe a minute later. And upstairs, we just hear a whistle. I'm so glad I got on audio too, which I'm really glad I did. And I was like, okay, maybe there's something here with you. And after that night, she said there's been just more footsteps. I think the kid was like clapping with something and like on the baby cam, on the nanny cam. And I think the kid's father came back into the picture. I think he heard something. So there's a lot of activity there. And she made a joke. She was like, "You taught my ghost how to do tricks," basically. And I was like, "Yeah, kinda." So, in a way, to go back to the point you're kind of mentioning, negative energy within a home can absolutely enhance or bring something or manifest something. And that house or location, whatever it may be, if there's something there and it's not making itself known, it's just kind of there hanging out, lingering, ball of energy, whatever it may be. If something negative happens, I feel like it could enhance it and could give it some life. In this case, it sounds like it gave it some life.
Yeah.
After that argument happened, like I said, footsteps, doors opening, and then I came over and taught it tricks. So I haven't heard too much since then from her about it. I think she said there's stuff that happens, she kind of just ignores it. So I'm like, okay.
Yeah, you can go the other way too. Like a lot of times it works. Like you were saying, you went to Farnsworth and you're like, I don't feel like it tonight. I don't want to talk. Like you heard that whisper. Like you can tell it to be quiet. You can tell it. Like I tell people that all the time. They're like, I'm having a haunting. I said, tell it to leave you alone. Yeah. That's my first advice. See if that works. I think you can do it the other way too. Like if you can shut it off.
Talking to it. I know when I did a documentary on a funeral home, the funeral director and I were talking, and I told her I was into the paranormal stuff, and she's like, "Well, let me tell you a story about my father." So her father died from cardiac arrest right in the kitchen of their home, just dropped dead in the kitchen. And after that, they began to have weird activity in the house. The father had a greenhouse in the backyard that he would go into, do his garden greenhouse stuff. And they would hear the door at night just bang, just open, close, open, close. There's no one out there. Yeah. And it's like footsteps throughout the house and so forth. And then it got to the point where her and her sister just kind of sat down and just said, "Dad, we know that's you. It's okay. We're okay. You can move on." And then all activity just stopped. It's just quiet. Nothing happened. So you can talk to whatever is there, whoever is there, lingering around, and you have a good chance of have it going away.
And unfortunately, man, that's when there's been cases I've been on, and one comes to mind where a woman lost her son to he OD'd, and obviously that's horrible, and obviously the energy that just goes with that, but she couldn't let go. She thought for sure that he was there at the house and protecting. And I mean, and literally, man, physically bruises were coming up on her. And the woman was a sweetheart. And I know that she wasn't doing it. So we, talked her into letting us have a camera in a couple rooms in the house and stuff where activities, and we left it, and, there's one time, man, that she's upstairs, trying to talk to, you hear where it does sound like, somebody's walking, I guess is the easiest thing to say. And she's calling her son's name out, and why, can you just move on, and this and that. And she's walking down the steps, man. And you literally see the arch of her back get pushed. Something pushed her down the steps, and it's so we went in and did, a cleansing and a blessing, and then we had somebody else come in, and they did, Stacy might understand this better than me, but they did a crystal grid and passed on, tried to pass over whatever it was. And I was using dowsing rods, man, just to, had them as a piece of equipment. But literally, man, I've never, ever had that happen. I felt like somebody grabbed the end of the dowsing rods like that. They literally, I could feel the jerk and the grab.
Yeah, right.
But after she did whatever you want to call it with the crystal grid and stuff, ran through that, completely different, man. The whole house it was just so she, we told her, if he was here, I think he has passed on. He did cross over, I guess you could say. I mean, we're not God or any other thing to cross things over to the other side. That is my opinion. We can show him the light or whatever it is that's there. Give him a little nudge. But anyway, 2-3 weeks later, man, we're getting a call. and she's freaking out again. And, I said, how did this happen? She went 2 weeks with no activity. And what happened was, come to find out, they were doing road work outside of her place, and something was vibrated off of her shelf. And she automatically went right back to, I can't remember her son's name, but anyway, and within days, man, it started again where she was getting punched and bruised, and, and it was like, finally she moved out of there. We finally got her a little bit of counseling, and, haven't heard nothing since then. But you guys hear that?
I do.
I don't know.
Some kind of background noise.
Weird, man. Okay, I'll stop
heard that
talking. But but yeah, I think that energy, man, that we put out in situations that's heavy. I mean, that's what, the whole Poltergeist movie, if you look up the true story behind that, that was a kid that was going through adolescence, man, and moving like globes and, like world globe. And and
amazing what hormones and emotions can do.
exactly.
Yeah. All right. It's 9:57. We usually end at 10.
Ooh.
So is there anything else? I know that went quick.
It did.
Really quick. And I have a lot to do to get ready. I have to leave for tomorrow. I have to start setting up at Penhurst. So
I got Penhurst. That's going to be fun.
I got to pack my car still tonight. So,
Same here.
So anything, like I just put in the links for your MONDOdocs. Anything else? Where else can people find you? I mean, is there anything else that you do out there? Like follow you on Facebook? I mean, Instagram, TikTok. I don't know what you have.
Yeah. I mean, besides the MONDOdocs YouTube channel, you can find MONDOdocs on Facebook, on TikTok. Those are the main 3 platforms I use for MONDOdocs. But YouTube is the best place to go to for, this long form documentaries, explorations. But yeah, for those who don't know MONDOdocs, go check it out. If you're into abandoned places, haunted places, some true crime here and there, and the topic of death and dying, go check out MONDOdocs. Go subscribe, and yeah, I'll see you.
Yes, everybody, please go over and click the links that I put in the comments and subscribe. Give them a bunch of likes. Go watch stuff. I mean, I literally think one night I binge watched all this stuff. I'm like, okay, now it's time to watch these. Yes.
If you like filmmaking, if you like a filmmaker's perspective on the paranormal, where I want to take you on a weird, immersive, creepy experience.
Very immersive.
And yeah.
And I'm trying to recall. I don't think I've ever actually seen your face on MONDOdocs. Do you ever show? You don't.
Early on, I did. Like in the early videos, my face was all over the place. But I got sick of my own face, so no more.
I
know what you mean.
I might bring it back. We'll see. We'll see what happens.
You should.
I like that one that you did with the that had nothing to do with nothing, where you went to that, what was it, the big warehouse that had like the Wizard of Oz shit in it and stuff.
The Country Junction, the largest.
Yeah, that was
the largest general store in the country. Yeah, that's Lee Hutton.
Oh, you're gonna do the Elephant Museum?
No, that's Mr. Ed's. That's in Gettysburg. But Country Junction is just a nightmare retail general store. It's right next to the Hell House.
Oh, okay. Yes, I did. When I did the Hell House Paracon, yes. I was like, what is that thing over there?
My grandmother
in the middle of nowhere, and there's a Mecca. It's like the Taj Mahal.
She said, I was telling her about that place, and so I had to show her. This is my grandmother, 103 years old, man. She's like, that sounds like a neat place. And I showed her your video, and she was like, she wants to go there,
It's an interesting place,
yeah, just off of that video. But yeah, man, and I have to have you back at the store soon. We got to figure that out.
I'm always down. I mean, it's an excuse to go to Gettysburg, and it's a great store. It's a great location. You got lucky. That place is awesome.
It is.
That is a great location. It really is.
And maybe we'll get you out. We can try to have a little bit of a MONDOdoc evening and watch some MONDOdocs there. That would be cool.
Works for me. So
have it streaming in the little room there. Yeah, that would be cool.
Oh yeah,
that'd be cool.
I'm down for that.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for getting on. You really have some fascinating stuff. I like how your mind works. I feel like we think alike in a lot of different ways. Yeah. You're kind of on our same wavelength here. Yeah. And so I guess we won't probably see you in person again until the bash.
Maybe the bash. I might go to Gettysburg before then. I'm trying to. We'll see what happens.
Memorial Day
but
weekend.
It's a 3-day weekend for me, so.
Pam and Steve's anniversary.
Oh, is it?
Out.
Oh.
I think there's one room left.
I might
One room left.
Right?
Pam, you still on here?
just check my bank account here. But
Hey, if not, man, you got a couch, and I'm 2 miles away from.
2 miles away. There you
oh,
go.
man, that is tempting. Thank you. Yes.
Yes.
We'll talk about this.
We'll talk.
Yeah, I
We'll
live
talk.
in.
All right, guys.
Yeah.
All right. So thank
right.
you all for joining. Thank you for wherever you're watching from. Thank you
Absolutely.
for getting on here. Thank you for the comments. Thank you for those who have sent stars. I've seen a couple of you sent stars. We really appreciate that. And thank you for being here tonight, everybody. And don't forget to please fill your cup first. I've learned, take the lesson from me where I did not, and I had to take some time off. Please fill your cup first. You can't give from an empty cup, guys. Have a great evening.